will be in the form x squared plus bx plus c. So x squared plus bx plus c. So the factoring here that we're about to do, the coefficient of x squared is going to be 1. If the coefficient of x squared is 1, that's the easy kind to deal with. You can see what's going to look like. Okay? Now let's review something. Remember when you turned in a worksheet today that looks something like this. And let's suppose we had 3x minus 2 times 2x plus 5. How'd you multiply this? You FOIL, right? Use the idea of the FOIL method. And as we go through these factoring for the next 2 weeks, you're going to see that you're using the idea of FOIL with most of these situations, or the distributive property. But notice, isn't this right here a product of factors? Okay, what are the factors here? 3x minus 2 is one of them. What's the other? 2x plus 5. All right, but if I FOIL this, 3x times 2x is 6x squared. The outer is plus 15x. The inner is negative 4x. And the last is negative 10. Combining like terms, the outer and the inner I can combine. What's a positive 15x and a negative 4x? Positive 11x. So I get 6x squared plus 11x minus 10. So what's happening now, and knows that this coefficient of x squared is not 1, but it's what? 6. So at some point after your test, you're going to have to factor trinomials where the coefficient is not 1 anymore. So basically you want to go from here to here. That's what you're going to be doing, going from here to here. So when I factor these trinomials, I'm going from what's boxed to the product of 2 binomials. All right. So you want to end up with 2 binomials. Okay? All right. Now notice the trinomial, that middle term right here, that middle term, you get from the outer and the what? Inner of FOIL, right? The outer and inner of FOIL, so keep that in mind. Okay, so let's look at the first problem, number 1. Suppose we had this. Suppose we had x squared plus 9x plus 18. X squared plus 9x plus 18. Okay, now remember you want to end up factoring this as 2 binomials. 2 binomials. Now notice, what's the coefficient of x squared? 1. Coefficient of x squared is 1. That's the easy kind to factor. That's the easy kind of trinomial to factor. First of all, though, you always have to find the GCF of your polynomial. What's the GCF? What's the GCF? 1. All right. So since it's 1, I'm not gonna factor out a 1. So we're gonna put 2 binomials though, just like this. Okay. All right. Now here's how you're gonna think about this. You remember when I did the FOIL method, I said first times first will give me this first term. Right? Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So 3x times 2x gave me what? 6x squared. So the same idea. What times what gives me x squared? X and x. So that's the easy kind. All right, x times x is x squared. So I know that in my binomial, that first term is going to be x, because x times x is what? X squared. Okay? All right. Now, we'll go back to this problem. That's it, the last term. So we did the first. Now let's look at the last. A negative 2 times a positive 5 gives me what?
Negative 10.
Which is what I wanted the last term to be, right? Okay? All right, now here's the easy kind. Since the coefficient of x squared is 1, here's how you're going to do those. But you're still going to think about the FOIL method as well. Give me two numbers whose product is 18. Give me some pairs. 9 and 2, is 18. 6 times 3 is what? 18. 18 times 1 is 18. And I think that's it, right? Okay. Same thing like this. Give me two numbers whose product is negative 10. Well, we said negative 2 and what? And positive 5. Okay? All right. Now, the rest of what I'm about to do cannot translate to this because the coefficient of x squared is not 1. What is it?
6.
Is 6. All right, but the coefficient is 1. Here's what you're going to think about. Give me two numbers whose product is 18, positive 18, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whose sum is 9. 6 and 3. So give me two numbers whose product is 18 and whose sum is what? 9, the middle term. That right here only applies if the coefficient of x squared is what? 1. That's the only application.
And the product is 9.
The middle term. So if I try 9 and 2, right? But what's the sum? The sum is 11. So I'm going to put sum here. Sum is 11. That's not what I want. What do I want? 9. So you're going to try what? 6 and 3. And that sum is what? Oh, sorry, 9. So then you're going to say plus 6 plus 3. Just like that. Now, before you ever go on to the next problem, you should always, in your mind, FOIL this out to make sure you get what you wanted. Some students, they for some reason, don't want to take the 30 seconds to do that. They want to just quickly take the test, go home, watch Netflix. You got to take the time to check this. What's the outer? 3x. What's the inner?
6.
When I add them up, what do I get? You're done. That's the answer. Okay? All right, let's look at this one. Suppose I had this. Suppose I had x squared plus 6x minus 10 this time. Minus 10. All right, listen to the discussion. What's the GCF to begin with? 1. So I'm going to go directly to the two binomials. The first term's always the easiest because it's going to be what? X and x. Because x times x is x squared. All right, now let's talk about the rest of this. Give me two numbers, and you can in your mind you can tell me what those are. Give me two numbers whose product is what?
10.
Not 10.
Negative 10.
Negative 10. The constant is not 10. What's that constant? Negative 10. And whose sum needs to be what? Positive 6. All right? Oh, okay. You know, sometimes I can't read my own handwriting.
You don't say.
That's not gonna work.
I think this will work. Yeah, I do.
That's 16?
That's a 16. Yeah, it looked like a 10 when I was looking like this.
It's gonna be
I know.
82.
Ugh.
Negative
All right.
8.
So give me two numbers whose product is what?
Positive 8. Negative 2.
Negative 16, and whose sum is 6, right?
Positive 8.
Positive 8 and negative 2. If you had said negative 2, I'm sorry,
Positive 2.
negative 8 and positive 2, that product is negative 16, right?
Yes.
But what's the sum?
Negative 6.
What do I want?
Positive.
So it has to be what?
Positive 8.
8 and negative 2. Okay? It does not matter. Since the coefficient of x squared is 1, it does not matter where you put the plus 8 or the minus 2. You can say plus 8 and then what? Minus 2. Or you can say x minus 2 and then x plus 8. Does not matter. Okay?
Don't do all that over here.
All right. Before I go on, though, always check. FOIL. What's x times x?
X squared.
X squared. Let's go to the last. What's a positive 8? That's an 8. Looks like a 5. What's a positive 8 times a negative 2?
Negative.
Negative 16. Now check the outer and the inner. What's the outer? What's the outer? God, y'all had that on that worksheet you had to turn in today. What's the outer?
You mean X?
What's the outer?
X
What
minus
is
2.
it? I know you're saying x times negative 2. What
Negative
is
2X.
it? Oh, my Lord. Negative 2x. Okay. What is the inner? 8x. When I add them up, what do I get?
6.
6x, which is what I wanted. Okay. So you check. Outer, inner. All right. Number 3. Suppose I had x squared minus 4x plus 3. X squared minus 4x plus 3. What's the GCF? 1. What's the coefficient of x squared? 1. That's the easy kind. Okay, so we go directly to 2 binomials. What's the first term of each binomial?
X.
X. All right, now here's how you think about the rest. Give me 2 numbers whose product is what?
3.
3, and whose sum is what?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. Very good. What do you think?
3 and 1.
Negative 3 comma
1.
negative 1. So that product is what? Positive 3. And that sum is what? Negative 4. Did y'all try something else that you think may work? That's the only one, right? You're not going to say 3 and 1. Don't say 3 and 1. Because 3 times 1 is what? 3. But the sum is positive 4, not negative 4. All right? So that's the sum is 4 in this case. So but you want negative 4. All right. It does not matter which one you put the negative 3 in or the negative 1. Does not matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is because the first terms are both the same. They're both what? X. So it does not matter. So you can say x minus 3 here, and then over here you can say what? X minus 1. Before you go to the next one, check. What's x times x?
X squared.
Let's do the last next. What's negative 3 times a negative 1? Positive 3. All right, let's do the out and the inner. Now let's say it right this time. What is the outer?
1X.
Not 1x.
Negative.
Negative 1x. What's the inner? Negative 3x. When I add them up, what do I get? Negative 4x, which is what you wanted. So there's your answer. Okay. Number 4. All right, let's suppose we had this. X squared minus 8x minus 20. X squared minus 8x minus 20. What's the GCF?
1.
1. What's the coefficient of x squared?
1.
That's the easy kind.
Mm-hmm.
2 binomials. What's going to be the first of each, though? X and x. All right. So now, since that's the easy kind, you're going to say I need the product of those 2 numbers to be what? Negative 20. You want the sum of those 2 numbers to be the middle term. Remember the outer plus the inner? That's the idea. The outer and the inner is that middle sum. You want that to be what, though? Negative 8. All right, so come up with some possibilities that you think may work. Negative 10 and positive 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you think negative 10, positive 2? Okay, so is that product negative 20?
Yes.
Yes. Is the sum negative 8?
Yes.
Yeah. So product is that, sum is that. Does it matter which one I put the plus 2 or the minus 10? Does not matter. I can say plus 2 here, minus 10 here. So x plus 2 times x minus 10.
You have to put the plus first?
No, I can say x minus 10.
Okay.
Does not matter. All right, now before you go on, check. X times x is what? X squared. Positive 2 times negative 10 is what? Negative 20. Okay, now let's do the outer and the inner. What's the outer?
Negative 10.
10x. Negative 10x. What's the what's the inner?
2x.
2x. When I add them up, what's the negative 10x and the positive 2x?
Negative 8x.
Negative 8x. Is that what you wanted?
Yes.
Yep. So there's your answer. All right. So doing that worksheet that was due tonight was supposed to help you with this idea. All right, number 5. It's number 5.
Dyslexic with the foil.
Huh?
I said I get dyslexic with the foil. I have to really pay attention because I'll do first.
Okay, x squared plus 2x plus 6. All right, now, the reason I'm doing that one you'll see when I give you that worksheet. Okay, so let's look at this one. Again, this is the easy kind. Just go back and review the notes, review the video when doing this. You don't want to miss that on the test. That you need that first test to be your A. All right. What's the GCF? That's a 2x. What's the GCF? 1. What's the coefficient of x squared?
X. 1.
The coefficient of x squared is not x. What's the coefficient of x squared? 1. Okay. So when you say those two things, you think easy now. You let little. I should have brought that thing. This is easy. That's what I should have done. All right, that's the easy kind. Now you go directly to the two binomials. We'll do that next time. Bring the easy button. What's the first thing?
Put your 2x.
Your x times x. Okay. All right. Now, I want two numbers whose product is 6 and whose sum is 2. Two whole numbers whose product is 6 and whose sum is 2. 2 times 3 is 6, but so she's saying 2 times 3. I agree that's 6. What's the sum? Sum 3 and 2 is 5. That doesn't work. So that won't work.
It's not
3
gonna work.
plus 3.
3 times 3 is 9.
I say 3 plus. Oh, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
but it's not still not gonna work.
Can you think of any numbers?
1 and 6.
No, none. You can't think of any numbers, right? Okay. So now we're going to come to this word now. All right. So remember the whole idea. What was the directions to begin with? Directions was what? Factor. Okay. Factor. All right. So I get this one right here. I get this right here, and there is no number. There is no pair of numbers that whose product, whole numbers now, whose product is 6 and whose sum is 2. So I can't do this, which means I can't factor this, right?
Yeah.
So this is not factorable. It's not factorable. So we use the word, there's always a blank. You're going to say prime. If you can't factor it, it is prime. We use the word prime, okay? Don't say cannot be factored. You say what? Prime. All right. Okay, that's the easy kind. So we'll that is on your test. We'll review a couple of more of those next time, just to see if you. No, I'm not gonna have one in the test that's prime, but there is one in your worksheet that's prime. Okay. All right. So let me tell you what to look at. All right.